Hi, it's Howard Murphy, DB Computer Solutions here today with Sarah Vickers from Sicon. As part of our short demonstrations that we've been putting through our YouTube channel, today we're going to be looking at Sicon barcoding and warehouse management. We want to take just a quick overview of the actual package so people get a sense of what the system can actually do for you as a business and possibly how it can actually integrate with some of your existing Sicon modules in Sage 200 if you have them already. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, who's going to take us through the actual package.
That's lovely. Thank you, Howard. So essentially, barcoding, as you can see on the far left-hand corner, just sits as an integrated module inside of Sage 200. So clearly it's going to link to sales order processing, to purchase order processing, all of your warehouses and all of your bin locations. It also links to any stock that perhaps if you've got traceable stock, as you'll see later on, we can do traceability as well. But all of your warehouse staff, as you'll see in a moment, will have a device, and there's various different devices that you can use. I've got a little Suet device here that has a little integrated scanner. As long as you've got a minimum spec of Windows 5, essentially, you can use any type of Android device. But this connects to Sage via one Sage Web Connector license, and it's, as you'll see in a moment, it's a real-time data collection. So anything that you put on Sage will automatically populate through into the device and vice versa. Now, to be fair, I've got quite a bit on my menu, as Howard alluded to earlier on. This isn't just about booking stock in and out, dispatching, doing stock takes, all that kind of stuff. We also integrate with some of our other modules like work order processing, kitting, projects, as well as our distribution module. So users will only see what they need to see on the menu, basically. So what we'll do to kick things off is we're going to book in a purchase order. So if I whiz back into Sage for a moment, you'll see we're going to come into standard Sage purchase order processing. And in true Blue Peter style fashion, as they used to say when I was a kid, here's one I've got prepared earlier. Show my age there, Howard.
And mine.
It's when people don't know what you're talking about, then that's when you know you're old. So I've got a couple of items here just to show you the flexibility of the system so far as that traceability is concerned. And I've got a non-traceable item. So I've got my port plug, very strange two mixture of things this afternoon, port plug and some plain flour. And you'll see I've not actually received either of those items in just yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to the device. Imagine I am now in your warehouse. So no paper trail. That's obviously the beauty of this. No having to print bits of paper for your staff to be able to book these items in. I simply have a device, come to receive purchase orders. Now, I can receive a purchase order in a number of different ways. I could search for the supplier, I could search for the purchase order number, I could just simply work my way down the list, or of course, filter by date range, but I'm going to come and find that purchase order number, which was 5069. There we go, AB Cookers. And don't worry if you do have suppliers that don't have barcode labels on it. As you'll see me do now, I do actually have the ability to book something in and then produce the barcode label afterwards. So all I've done there is keyed that quantity in, and then we can produce a barcode label afterwards. Now, that second line, as you can see, the flour is actually a batch controllable, which is why we've got that extra bit of information that I can fill in. So I can say I am essentially booking in 50 grams, but this is where it's going to ask me now for that extra information. And wherever you've got a stock item set up, by the way, that is batch traceable, you'll be forced to key this information in. Now, I'm keying this information in because I don't have what's called a GS1 format. And that's essentially a subscription-based organization. Have a look at our website. We've got some more information about the GS1 format that essentially will give you one barcode label that will automatically populate all of this additional information in. So it's definitely worthwhile you investigating that if you're the type of organization that has this additional information. So essentially it will be one barcode with all of this additional information. So I would I would swipe the barcode label, and it would automatically populate this additional information in for me. So as you can imagine, it just means I don't have to be keying this in manually, and it's also means, you know, you're eliminating potentially the need for me to key that in. Now, at this point, I can also take a photo image, and using, as you'll see in a moment, our barcode, our documents module, I can then store that image against the purchase order back in Sage. Now, documents does far more, as you'll see later on, than just store images. And then very simply, as we said, we can print the labels and attach it. I can confirm the receipt and then separately put it away, or I can confirm the receipt and put it straight away. So I'm going to confirm the receipt, pop in my usual supplier's goods received note. And then as you'll see, this is now going to automatically update Sage to say it's now received. So I'm not having to go all the way up to the office to say, here's your bits of paper to tell you that that's now been received. As you'll see now, if I come back into Sage any second now, this is now automatically been received. So much more efficient, improves accuracy, so you're not getting people putting in wrong information. And there we go. There's my one received and 50. And if we come down to, so this is our little documents module that I mentioned that gives you the ability to attach any type of document. It could be, as an example, an invoice in the purchase ledger, or a customer's purchase order and against a sales order. But if we just come and show you that image, so that was the photo that I took of the screen that's now stored against that purchase order. So it's all contained, all in one place, nice and simple. Now, of course, we might want to come and put that item away, but we might also have scenarios where we might want to inspect stock. So we have the ability to lock certain items down. So this is very much at stock item level. So the whole idea is that if you have, particularly with things like ingredients and your manufacturing, what you don't want to be doing is dispatching something or using something that hasn't been inspected and, of course, has passed that inspection. So you have the ability, as you'll see now, to be able to set up an inspection bin location, but also a quarantine bin location, because again, what you don't want is a scenario where perhaps something has failed that inspection and then somebody goes to pick it by mistake. So you're going to set up a quarantine bin location, which means you can't then pick from it. So in here, I can come to my inspection bin location and we'll pop in. Obviously, I would have a barcode label instead of me having to key in inspection. And this is just giving me a list of the 2 items that I've marked as I need to inspect it. If I come to my espresso machine, I'm going to say, I'm going to pass 3 of those. Now you'll see I've got a set of configurable questions. So at the group stock item level, you can have whatever set of questions and answers you like. So that could be a tick box, it could be a date field, it could be something as simple as taking a photo of the item. So I'm going to say yes, yes. I could have a drop down box actually with yes or no on. I should have done that. That would have made life much easier for me, shouldn't I? I'm all for making life easy.
Still faster than manual, so you know.
It is, absolutely. Note to self, put a drop down box for next time.
Blue Peter.
So they're now passed and I can now use those. And similarly, again, as I said, if I'd have failed those, those would have gone into my failed bin inspection. Now, we want to put these items away. I'll talk about just one way of putting them away for the moment. Obviously, if this is something that you want to investigate further, we can show you other ways like wave put away, where we can consolidate lots of orders together. Now, that's actually a good example of it's telling me that tick box that it is something that needs to be inspected. But if I come and choose that cable gland, I'm going to come and put this item away. And all I've done in the background is I've set up the bin locations that cable gland is stored in, but in a priority order. So your warehouse staff knows exactly where they need to put it away. Now, it might be that both those bin locations are completely full. Doesn't matter. You've got the flexibility to allow your staff to create a new bin location to associate that stock item to. So I'm going to say that's going to go into that bin location, and I'm going to say one of those confirm movement. It's right, I've got this in a wave put away, which is why let's choose something else that I haven't got in a, so I'm going to say unspecified, and hopefully I haven't got that one in a wave. It's right, I've consolidated all of my purchase orders into what's called a wave put away.
Yeah.
So that's just a very, very simple way of, instead of me having to do as I'm doing now, putting one item away at a time, I can pull all of my purchase orders together and then go around the warehouse and put them away one at a time. So unfortunately, I've got everything already put in a wave
we
put
have
away.
we have clients where you do that same thing on the sales order side, you know, instead of them walking down to the end of the
Yeah,
warehouse for each order coming back up, the you know, it's good that you have options to put a list of orders in a wave and do them all at the same time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you know, if you've got scenarios where you've got a very big warehouse, it's a much more efficient way of doing it. Or
Yeah.
indeed, if you've got lots and lots of purchase orders coming in on a daily basis, it's much easier just to get them booked in quickly
Yeah.
and then pull them all together. So let's come and dispatch a sales order. And what we'll do here is we'll also pick up our courier integration. So we have a link to various couriers, and if you go on our website, it gives a list of all the couriers that we work with. So your typical TNTs, DPDs, Royal Mail. And essentially, it's just an easy way for us to push that data up to the courier's website instead of you having to key that information in manually. So we store the weight of those items against the stock items in the background. So you're not having to put in the weight and the number of boxes and the customer's addresses, all that typical kind of stuff that, you know, takes a lot of time to do. We'll just simply push all of that information up to the courier's website. And as you'll see in a moment, we'll then pull down the label to attach to the box, but also we can pull down the tracking information. And on top of that, we can also automate sending out those tracking notes and the dispatch notes using that little documents module that I mentioned earlier on. So we can do all of that through 3 modules: barcoding, documents, and courier integration. So let's show you that in action. So if I come to my good old Sicon order, you'll see that there's a couple of extra fields on the standard Sage screen that's about, sorry, I've just realized I've picked up the wrong sales order. That's not the one I wanted to show you because I haven't got Evo Pond set up with any weight, so I can't show you that one. Let me show you. That's the one I wanted to show you. There we go. So you'll see we just have an extra field attached to the standard Sage screen that gives us the weight. So as I was talking about earlier on, we store the weight against these items. So there we go, there's the weight. We also have the delivery service. So in the background, I've only got DPD set up, but as I mentioned earlier on, we can link to TNT, Royal Mail, all of those types of couriers. So any courier that you use, set up in the background, and they will then appear in this list with all the different delivery services that you're likely to use. And then you have the choice of, you know, which delivery service, which courier you're going to use. Now, what you can do, as I've got here, is you can actually default to say, every time I send out an order for Sicon, I always want it to go through DPD, and I always want to use the next day service. So I don't have to think about it. Sicon are our preferred customer. We always want to give them a, you know, special service. So let's just do that as part and parcel of our service for them. So we can choose the delivery service here, or as you'll see in a moment, you can allow your staff on the device to choose the courier, or indeed override that for whatever reason. Now, the other thing that we can do is we can assign it to a picker, or we can just simply leave it open, and then it's just very much up to, you know, whoever's next in line to do the job, they will then pick it up. Now, I've got my order set to ready to pick as default because as soon as we put a sales order on and we've allocated it, we just want it to appear as an order to ship out straight away. But we have some customers that actually like to control which orders go to the warehouse. They don't want all of the orders going to the warehouse. So what we have the capacity to do is have that set to unticked, so it's then in control of the office staff to decide which ones they want to appear on the device, basically. So that's a control mechanism in order to do that. Now, the other thing that we can do is we can use the standard Sage order priority. So as you'll see in a minute, A's obviously will be at the top of the list. Right, let's come and dispatch that without further ado, shall we? So remember 6119, Howard. I'm going to test you in a minute. Make sure you haven't fallen asleep on me. And this is just another one of our applications called Audit Log that tracks changes. Right, I'm now hired in the warehouse team, and we're going to come to the device and we're going to hit dispatch sales orders. Now, again, at this point, I can filter my orders in a number of different ways. I could search for the company. I've even got the option to filter by any one of the analysis codes. So if, as an example, you wanted to say, show me all the orders for DPD, or if you're picking by certain vehicles, then you can essentially do it that way. I've also, as you can see, got the A's on the right-hand side, or of course I can filter by that good old sales order number, which was
6119.
there.
See?
We go.
Wide awake.
Right. Well remembered, Howard. You're still with me. Okay, so this is just telling me I've got all the other orders with the same address. So do I want to do what's called a wave pick and consolidate all those orders together? I'm not going to do that for today because I just want to pick this one sales order. So all it's doing in the first instance is it's just simply summarizing, obviously, the order number, customer, and again, it can pull through, obviously, those analysis codes for us. Now, I've actually got mine set to say, oh, my screen, sorry, has gone completely strange on there. I don't know what's going on the team viewer. For some strange reason, team viewer isn't actually showing you what.
It's picking it up slow, yeah.
It is picking up really slowly and it's all merging. Oh, that's frustrating.
Maybe minimize it and then put it back up again.
There we go. That's a bit better.
Yeah.
Right, we're back on track. So I've actually got my environment set up to do a separate pack process. So if you're the type of organization that goes to pick, whether that's wave pick, consolidating lots of orders, and then you've got a separate packing area, or maybe, other staff that do your packing and then you dispatch it, you've got that ability to do exactly that. If that's not the way you work, don't worry, you can literally just do a straight pick and dispatch. So there's my espresso machine and it's telling me the bin location that I need to go to. So where exactly in the warehouse am I going to go and pick this item? So I'm going to go to that goods in, and I've even got a little image just in case I don't know what an espresso machine looks like. Now it could be that I get to that bin location and there's a bit of a problem. I've got the flexibility to change the bin or report a problem. Otherwise, again, of course, I can scan it and say I've picked it. I can come and pack it, and I can actually pack it in a bag or box. Again, obviously, you can have whatever type of packaging you like set up. So I'm going to say I've packed it in a bag. And all we're going to do now is say, so let's say we've packed it. Sorry, let's actually do that. It would help. At this point, I can print the packing list. I can pack all of the picked items, I can dispatch them all, I can even put everything back. And I've even got the option, as you can see, to change the delivery service. Now, before I do that, though, I just want to quickly take a photo again, because in the same way that we've got the option to take a photo when we've booked something in, we've also got the option to take a photo before we send it out. Now, we're finding more and more customers are actually doing this because they're finding customers are calling them saying, oh, something's been broken or something's been missing. Well, this is evidence for them. Was it actually the courier that's done the damage? So they've got the evidence before it gets shipped out. And this is actually becoming probably more useful than the booking in, to be fair. So we've picked it, as I said, we're going to print the packing list. I'm going to dispatch it. Yes, I'd like to dispatch it, please. So that's now dispatching. What's actually happening, as well as it updating Sage to say it's dispatching, it's also talking to courier. So it's talking to DPD. It's sending all of that information up to DPD, as you'll see in a second, and it'll update Sage any moment now. So if we whiz back into Sage, you will see a couple of things have happened. She says trying to get back into Sage. There we go. So a couple of things have happened now. So we have a sales order that's been dispatched, which means, again, no paper trail, no having to come back into Sage to manually say we've dispatched it. There we go. There's dispatched. Now, the other thing is we've got this little courier label. So can you see, I don't know if you can see that, Howard, we've got a tracking number there. That's what's now pulled back from the courier.
Yeah, don't ask me to remember that number.
No, I was almost about to test you there. I might just, so take a note.
Yes.
Right, so courier label, and obviously I don't have to come into Sage to produce this. This is something that your warehouse staff will be producing. So this is more around giving you an example of what it looks like.
Very
So
good.
that's the label, of course, that DPD have provided for me. So I've got the number of packages, I've got that total weight, and that's essentially what we're going to attach to the packaging. Now, I mentioned earlier on that this can also now be sent out via email, as I'll come and show you in a moment, using our documents module. So we can automate emailing out the dispatch note along with the tracking number. So that documents module doesn't just store images, as I'll come and show you now. So if I come to view documents, it's that same image. So we've got two things now. We've got the image that we've just taken, and we've got a copy of the dispatch note that's being sent out.
Very good.
So the other thing, as you'll see in a second, if I come to my email whilst we're in this now, is that I've now got that automated to send that out. And actually, the other thing we can do with this is we've also got the ability to potentially actually attach, as I've got here. So can you see we've got the tracking number, we've got the dispatch note, and we've also stored an image of that espresso machine as well. So a lot of customers now like to have maybe their terms and conditions. It could be maybe a spec of some items, and that could be maybe a quote that they've sent out, as well as things like the dispatch notes and things like a purchase order. So all of that additional information can be automated to be sent out. So that's document distribution as part and parcel of the documents module. Okay.
So just in summation of just what you've covered there, so you've just shown both purchase order and sales order processing using the facility of the Sicon Barcoding and Warehouse. So for people to understand, this is fully integrated with Sage 200. You're not seeing it anywhere separate, but on the actual handheld itself.
Yeah.
You're taking out the whole idea of paperwork if they need to, whereby they don't necessarily need to print off an actual picking list. They can walk with the actual handheld itself, and then in real time you're updating the stock movements directly against those processes back in Sage 200 is effectively
exactly
what you've done.
Exactly that. And as you say, it's all real time, and we're not using a Sage license. So as soon as something gets updated, whether it's, me adding a sales order in Sage or a PO, that's going to automatically appear on the device and vice versa. So no paper trail whatsoever.
Yeah, and the important part about all of that is that people have to understand when they're seeing this, what people are currently doing at the moment when they are printing those lists. So the actual what can occur is effectively if a sales order has been sent out, there can be a delay in the paperwork being updated back in Sage manually. And the same thing, goods could come in the door. It doesn't appear in Sage 200 until such time as the person designated to do it actually types it in. So you've completely taken out that delay in the process itself, making it a very accurate stock figure.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Howard. Okay. Right. I'll cover a couple of other areas. Obviously, the purpose of today is just to pick up on a few key areas. So obviously, the next key area that most customers want to be doing with barcoding is, of course, good old stock takes, because we hate having to print out reams and reams of paper, counting, writing it down, giving those wads of paper to the poor old office for them to have to then rekey all of that data back in again. So essentially, the way in which this works is that we produce the initial report in standard Sage, but obviously what we're not then having to do is we're not having to then print it out to give it to a member of staff. So you'll see again in my true Blue Peter star fashion, here's one I've got prepared earlier. I really need to stop saying that. So this is This is one that I've produced as a report, and as you'll see on the device in a moment, that information will go down to the device. So, of course, you can produce these by each warehouse. It's just a standard Sage report, really, at the end of the day. So if I now come to my device, you'll see I've actually got two ways that I can do a stock take. The first is, if I whiz down to the bottom of the screen, is the typical kind of full blown, I want to stock take every single bin location, every single warehouse. So that's where, as I've just done a moment ago, that's where we pull off the report from Sage, and then that's going to appear on the device, as I'll show you now. But we can also do what we call a dynamic stock take, which is a quick one on the fly. So if I just simply want to do, I don't know, one stock item, then we've actually got the ability to do that as well. Now, I've got two ways in which I can present the information. I can either get the member of staff to key in how many they found, or, as you saw in that recount screen a minute ago, I can actually show how many they should be finding. Personally, I always tend to say, don't tell them how many they should be finding and get them to count, because it's much better. So again, all I'm going to do is key in the quantity. Now, again, you'll see I've got a batch traceable here. So I'm going to be forced to put in that batch traceable information. And again, of course, if we have that GS1 format that I talked about earlier on, then I don't have to be keying in this information. I could actually just be scanning the barcode label, and that will then automatically pull through. So once I've finished my stock take, I just simply say yes. Now you'll see what's happened back in Sage. If we whiz back into Sage for a second, is, as I've just mentioned, I don't have to actually now be keying anything in. So huge time savings involved. But what it's going to do is it's going to show me how many I should be finding. And that's what I've actually been just counted. And of course, a variance. So clearly, if we've got a scenario where perhaps we've got a massive variance difference, I'm going to go and tell the member of staff to do a recount. Now, the additional piece of information that we also give, where it's a traceable item, and standard Sage, as you know, how it doesn't give you this bit of information on this screen, is this extra bit of traceable information. So if that is a traceable batch, traceable date, serial numbers, whatever additional attributes that you need to be gathering, we give you that against those lines there. So that's the extra piece that you get with our stock takes.
Very good.
So I mentioned just very briefly the other way of doing it, which is that quick dynamic stock take. So again, let's just quickly whiz back to that screen for a second. So this is, I don't need to do a full-blown one. It's just I want to do a quick one on the fly. And my usual go-to of this time of day now is my Barocca, because clearly I need to wake myself up. And I don't want a cup of coffee because that's going to keep me awake all night. So we've got our good old Barocca to keep me going for the rest of the afternoon. And all it's doing is it's giving me the bin locations that I should expect to find that Barocca. So where do I need to go to do my stock take? So very simply, I'm going to go to that first bin location. Now, in this screen, it is actually telling me how much I should be finding. So I'm going to actually say I've found 3. Now, I've also got the flexibility to say I found something in that bin location, which, Howard, as you know, again, standard Sage doesn't let you do in a normal stock take, does it? It's kind of like, this is what you should be finding. We've got no way of, you putting in there that you found something else in that location. But we've got that ability to do that. So we can scan the stock item in and say, we found something that isn't normally stored in that bin location. Confirm? Yeah. And then all I do is go to my next bin location and do exactly the same. Confirm, done. And that's, as I said, just a quick dynamic stock take on the fly, basically.
Very good. And that's very handy. We see that with what we try and tell customers is that, ahead of some of the larger stock takes that they're actually going through, to actually encourage those flash kind of stock takes in certain areas, just so that you keep up on top of things. And certain warehouses have problem areas where stock is moving very quickly. So, to keep an accurate count, once a week or something, give somebody 15, 20 minutes, go down, tell them take a whole location and work on that. That could mean everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly that. So the last couple of things I thought I'd pick up on today was the ability to move stock between locations. So that could be just simply moving it between one location and another from a bin location perspective.
Yeah,
Or, sorry, I'm typing in the bin location here because I don't have my barcode labels. But of course, if I've got barcode
you
labels
can
on
just
my
scan them.
shelves, I can just scan those. And it's just listing the items that I ought to be finding in that bin location.
Very
And
good.
very simply, all we basically do is say, what is it that I'm moving? I want to move that cable gland. And again, it just simply gives me the bin locations that that item normally resides in. So I scan the item and I say, where am I moving it to? I'm moving it from that bin location. There we go, to the next location. And again, that's going to automatically update Sage for me. And it's pretty much the same way through a warehouse. So we can do a warehouse transfer stock movement from one location to the other.
Very good.
Now, the last thing I thought would be a good idea to mention, Howard, this afternoon is that integration piece. I won't go through a full demo, but just to mention what else we can do for those customers that are perhaps using some of our other modules. So the first one is if we've got customers that are using distribution and they're shipping containers in, we have the ability to link to our distribution module in order to book the whole of the container in. So rather than me having to book in every single separate purchase order and every single purchase order line, it's a much, much quicker way of getting all of that booked in. So that's our distribution container management. The other is the ability to link to our works order processing. So this is about picking individual components, issuing, and then booking in the finished item, or just backflushing. So taking out of stock the individual components and then booking the finished item in. And we can also link to our kitting module, whether that's building a kit or perhaps if we're buying things in and we dismantle it. We have one customer who buys in massive kilos of rice and then breaks it down into individual sort of 500 grams of rice. We can do what's called a disassemble of a kit as well. And then the other thing is our projects. She says going the other way. So going completely the wrong way. There we go. So if anybody has our projects module, there's the ability to issue stock to a project. So that's going to pick up what's been issued and of course the cost accordingly.
Very good.
So we've covered barcoding, we've covered documents just very, very briefly, and we've also covered courier integration this afternoon, Howard.
Yeah, very good. And look, I appreciate it. I think it's necessary to sort of give people a visual as to what it looks like, particularly on the handheld. I mean, the common sort of inquiries that we get can be just for the simple receipt and dispatch of stock. When people are talking about stock management, they can mean different things. But from what you've shown here today in this particular demonstration is that you can cater for some or all if necessary, I think. And the nice bit is that, we do have, customers that will work or will require sort of a manufacturing module, and they'll need something like this to sort of issue the stock, directly to the works order, or, just to have it integrated with that is great to see.
Indeed.
So look, I think that the main crux of it here is that we're getting rid of paperwork here. We're reducing the actual process, and the most important thing is that the stock is more accurate than ever when using something like this, and that's what we want to encourage our users to do. So look, thanks very much for your time, Sarah. Really appreciate it. We'll put this on YouTube. Anybody who's interested in knowing more or anything about warehouse management, document management, or even the courier integration, please get in touch with us at DB Computer Solutions. We'll have at the end of the video, we'll stick on sort of contact information, and in the comments as well, in the description for the video, we'll put it in there too. Yeah, you can contact us at info@dbcomp.ie, but we'll leave all full information in around then. So look, once again, thanks very much for your time, Sarah. And look, we'll have you in the next video as well.
You're welcome. Cheers, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.